Good evening, dear students. Let's today take up a very good topic. One of my students asked me, were the dinosaurs the last mass extinction? When I went to a data of National Geographic Channel and Discovery Society, I got some interesting facts. Let us discuss with those facts. There have been 5 big mass extinctions in Earth's history. These are called the Big Five. Understanding the reasons and timelines of these events is most important to understand the speed and scale of species extinction today. This is a very complex topic, but let me go it into a very simple manner for you. What is a mass extinction? The first question rises. First, we must be clear on what we mean by mass extinction. Extinction are a normal part of evolution. They occur naturally and periodically over time. That means Earth reboots itself in every 500 million or 600 million years, roughly calculation if you can say that. There's a natural background rate to the timing of the frequency of extinction of 10% of the species are lost every million years. That's 30% every 10 million years and 65% over 100 million years. The data provides the quality analysis that it would be wrong to assume that species going extinct is out of the line with what we would expect. That means the data which we are having is not complete. Evolution occurs through the balance of the extinction and the end of the species and speciation, the creation of the new ones. That means extinction occurs periodically at what we called it as a background rate. That means we are still not knowledgeable regarding what kind of species are getting extinct day by day, which even we haven't discovered. We can therefore identify periods of history when extinction were happening much faster than the background rate. This would tell us that there was an additional environmental or ecological pressure creating more extinctions that we would expect. That means the rate can change from 10% to 30%, 30% to 40%, and maybe 60% also. However, mass extinctions are periods with much higher extinction. As per my calculations, I have seen that the rates that normally we see are not defined, and both magnitude and rate might change. That means magnitude is the percentage of the species that are lost, and rate is how quickly this happens. That's a clear calculation. That tells us mathematically that these metrics are inevitably linked. But we need both to qualify and qualitize to the mass extinction. That means the quality analysis should be on a calculation base. In the mass extinction, at least 75% of the species go extinct with a relatively by geological standards. That means many of the species in Amazon are still untouched or undiscovered. That means they might go extinct and we might even not know that there were species which were already available. That means we are not having that much proper data, or the scientific knowledge is still a half knowledge for us. The 5 mass extinction, let's talk about those 5 mass extinctions which many of my students have asked me, and whenever I have went through with them, I have always tell them that I have always actually given them the proper knowledge that without being the proper information, how could I go ahead and explain you? I need to go through it. I need to go through it with your questions, with your queries, so that I can return back with a amicable and proper answer. So here's my answer with you. There have been 5 mass extinctions events in Earth's history, at least since 500 million years ago. We know very little about the extinction events in Precambrian and even Cambrian earlier. That means these were the eras which are non-calculated, because we don't have a calendar section area. We just calculate in a millions and billions of years. That means an epoch or an area, which you have already learned in geography. In the chart, we see the timing of the events in the Earth's history. It shows that changing rate or extinction rate is measured by the number of families that were extinct per million years. That means a particular species having so many families, so many genera, and they get slowly they get extinct by the time and by the rate of mass extinction. So the 5 major mass extinction, that's the main topic. First one was around 444 million years ago. That means we will calculate in Maya. That was a calendar. That's what 444 million years ago Maya. That was end Ordovician. We exactly don't have the data regarding end Ordovician, that what kind of species were actually present over there. Were they advanced species? Were they sub-advanced species? Or were they were eukaryotic or prokaryotic animals? Then we come to late Devonian, that is 360 Maya. It's also undiscovered. We don't have the proper data regarding that. Some scientists believe that there were certain kinds of creatures, certain kinds of means there's a lot of myth. I must not go with the actual proof by naming those animals, because internet has so many of data regarding that, but none of the data were actually being studied and proven by the organizations like National Geographic Society and Discovery Societies, and also the major archaeologicals of all over the world, because not only India, many countries are working on all these things. Then the third one was end of Permian, that is 250 Maya. This is also not having any data. Now there is a misconception between fourth mass extinction and fifth mass extinction. Let me explain that. Many people think that end of Triassic, that is 200 Maya, that was a fourth extinction. Many people mistakenly say that this was the event when the dinosaurs were killed. No, this was not the period when dinosaurs got killed. This was the period when dinosaurs started mass extinction. But this mass extinction finally came on the fifth mass extinction, that was only for one day, that is 48 hours. That means 24 to 48 hours. As per my data, I have seen 24 to 48 hours. That was end of Cretaceous period, that is 65 Maya. All the dinosaurs were killed overnight. This was the biggest mass extinction ever happened on this earth. After this, there was an era which came of small animals, especially a new variety known as mammals. Now, finally at the end of the timeline, if we calculate and the questions arises, perhaps we are headed to the sixth mass extinction. Many people say, many of the horrors, many of the future predictors, they always say that we are going for sixth mass extinction, that this particular meteor will strike over and the entire population will go up. That's all nonsense. All these persons who are predicting, this is absolutely nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. Being a science teacher, I simply say these are the most illiterate people. They don't understand and they haven't studied science. Earth never alarms you before its mass extinction. It happens immediately. No matter how quality, how much technology you are having, you cannot face the fury of the earth. When earth tries to balance itself, it can balance with its own style. So every planet has its own fate. Our earth is having a sixth mass extinction, but it is not so near. So there is nothing to worry about it, that in 2024 everything will be vanished, all the earth will be in the darkness and blah blah blah, whatever things people say. If these things people say, tell them, write on a piece of paper, on a stamp paper, make a seal and get me affidavit. If they are not doing this, they're just bluffing you. So scientifically, it is not possible. So let's get further. What caused the five mass extinction? The biggest point is that the composition of the environment got changed. Acidification of water, that means oceans. We now see that oceans are having a lot more of salt. Technically in chemistry, if I apply on these things, if I apply chemistry, I think acidification changes into salt content. And all the continents, if we see, we get plenty of salts. All the seas having plenty of salts. How these salts actually came existence on this earth? That means there is a transformation of acidic content into a salt. So we need to understand it on a very broader prospect, that there is a composition and elemental mass change which happened on this earth. The spin of the earth, the timing of the earth, the distance of the moon, this is all calculated And eventually, in mass extinctions, all these things also changed. So we exactly don't know what is happening right now. In future, we can only predict. We cannot get you the exact calculation. Like we can predict, like the cyclones are approaching. There's a super cyclone, that is that hurricane, Katrina. That's all name. Not about actress. It's a kind of cyclone. I hope so. It's a hurricane. So we can predict that. We cannot predict the earthquake. Why? Because it's a natural compositional change of the tectonic plates, the movement of the tectonic plates. So students, always remember, trust on your books, not on those YouTubers which are not having a simple knowledge of scientific studies. These people haven't visited a library, even they haven't actually issued a book regarding searching all those things. So trust on your books. If you want to go it further, you can go to good libraries. All over India, you are having good libraries. All over the world, you are having good libraries. Many of the great writers have written very good things. Go through it, study those things, make data, make notes, and then say something which you actually know on a piece of paper. So, with this thought, I would say always trust your books. Always trust the persons who tell you the right thing, but on a piece of paper, not by verbally. With this thought, good night and keep on studying. God bless you. Godspeed. Bye bye.